so much, Wade.
I forgot this part. Learning social. So cheers.
Cheers.
And
Thank you.
over there.
Right. Inflammation causes everything. Now, you might think that's a bit of an over-exaggeration, but I'd like to stop and get you to think for a moment about what diseases you think are caused by inflammation. Everything. Yeah. So at the front of your mind might be lung damage caused by a virus, which I'm not going to name. Another thing at the front of your mind might be allergies coming to the end of spring in Melbourne. And autoimmune diseases that attack our bodies, like rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, lupus, multiple sclerosis, inflammatory bowel disease, and even autoimmune diseases that attack your thyroid might come to mind. You might even know that inflammation contributes to cancer. But one disease which I think that wouldn't be at the front of most people's minds when you think about inflammation is cardiovascular disease. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about what are cardiovascular diseases, why should we care about them, why should we think about inflammation in cardiovascular disease, how did I get interested in all of this, how could we target our own immune systems to improve and prevent cardiovascular disease in the future, and that's it. So to begin with, what is cardiovascular disease? Well, our heart and our blood vessels are all part of our cardiovascular disease system. So, given that, cardiovascular disease affects your heart and blood vessels. So your heart and blood vessels are really important for pumping your blood, containing oxygen all around your body. And cardiovascular diseases often happen when there's a blockage that prevents this from happening effectively. And then these blockages can break off and end up in your heart and brain, causing heart attack and stroke. We should care about these because they're the leading causes of death and premature death worldwide. Some of the main risk factors for heart attack and stroke, as you would know, are smoking, poor diet, and inactivity. And these are, you may know that you can prevent all of these by quitting smoking, eating a bit healthier, and getting active. Well, one thing you may not realise contributes to cardiovascular disease is high blood pressure, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that tonight. So during our lives, we get a build-up of fats that accumulate on our blood vessel wall. These fats can then become unstable and end up breaking off and causing the heart attack and stroke. The current main therapy for this is targeting the fats that are in your blood, but not our immune systems. So during our lives, so why should we think about inflammation in cardiovascular disease? Well, our immune systems are like a well-trained army, and they try and maintain the peace in the face of constant invaders. And these invaders can be bacteria, viruses, and parasites. We are constantly exposed to these invaders, and our immune system has to maintain a really fragile peace. To maintain the peace, the foot soldiers of the immune system train up in their training centre, which is the bone marrow. And then they move out into the blood, where they scout for these enemy invaders. They eventually move out into tissues, and these foot soldiers mount rapid, non-specific attacks against the enemy invaders. Like a good army, our immune system has higher level officers, which are the B and T cells. and they're trained up in the bone marrow and thymus. And then they're released out in the blood when they're trained up, and they mount very highly specific attacks against these invaders. There we go. In this military-like environment, there's a really complex system of barricades, messengers, assassins, that try and act to maintain the peace and remember battle strategies and try and stop our immune system from creating collateral damage. Like an army, it can be really hard to maintain this state of constant war, and the army can go rogue and damage can begin to accumulate. And we're talking about out-of-control inflammation and damage to our organs. And that's why I think inflammation causes everything. So in cardiovascular disease, our immune system stages a coup. Immune cells start to invade the buildup of fatty plaque on your blood vessel walls, and they send messages for other immune cells to come out, make that plaque unstable, and then cause a heart attack or stroke. So you can see how it is important to consider targeting our immune system in cardiovascular disease. But how did I get interested in all of this? This is where my talk takes a little bit of a left turn. I'm going to talk about how we can target our immune system to reduce blood pressure and prevent cardiovascular disease. So high blood pressure is when blood hits our vessel walls really hard. And what got me really interested in blood pressure research is that 1 in 3 Australians adults have high blood pressure. So from where I'm standing, about this section of the room could have high blood pressure in their lifetime. And what's really concerning is that maybe apart from the table up the back there, we don't know what's causing high blood pressure in all of you. So that's the majority of people that have high blood pressure. So maybe inflammation could be causing your high blood pressure. Our brain, heart, blood vessels and kidney are all important in maintaining blood pressure. So for example, when you go from sitting to standing, a lot of your blood ends up pooling down below your belly button due to gravity. So when I come from sitting to standing, my brain will send out messages to increase my heart rate, which I can feel is already increased, and then constrict my blood vessels to increase my blood pressure and get that blood pumping around my body. The kidneys involved in like a chronic maintenance of blood pressure. So it releases hormones which control blood pressure and also controls our blood pressure by how much we pee out. So if, for example, your kidney helps maintain the amount of water and stuff that's in your blood, otherwise it'll get peed out. And if you have any irritation in your kidney, this can put that whole system out of whack and could cause high blood pressure. And this can be caused by our immune system going rogue. So in fact, we know that people with high blood pressure can have kidney inflammation, and that people with kidney inflammation can also have high blood pressure. My friend Dee here is one of those people. Inflammation in the kidney can irritate it and stop it from doing its job properly, and this can cause increases in blood pressure. My research focuses on a particular part of the immune system which kickstarts inflammation, and it's called interleukin-18. It acts like in the first couple of slides, it acts as the message that is passed on from one immune cell to another to start the inflammatory response. So I use experimental models of high blood pressure, and when in that model, when they didn't have interleukin-18, blood pressure and kidney inflammation was reduced. I also showed that when there was high blood pressure, interleukin was being produced by cells in the kidney themselves. So interleukin-18, you can see there, a little bit is in red, but if you can see here, these are part of the kidney, And the red is the interleukin-18 that's being produced in the kidney to cause inflammation. Interleukin-18 produced in the kidney starts an immune response. So altogether, this is like the message that I showed you before, being passed on to the inflammatory cells and causing an out-of-control immune response, except interleukin-18, the messenger in this situation that is producing interleukin-18 is the kidney cells themselves. And I was able to show that interleukin-18 acts on immune cells in this image. So you can see, it's pretty faint from there, but you can see that immune cells are in red, and then you can see that kidney cells are in the immune cells that respond to interleukin-18 are in the beautiful orange right there. So this rogue immune response that's initiated by interleukin-18 causes even bigger increases in blood pressure. So overall, my research suggested that we could develop drugs that target interleukin-18 in high blood pressure and kidney inflammation. And I've summarised my research in this short video. So meet my friend D. Like a third of Australian adults, D has the biggest risk factor for stroke and kidney disease. He has high blood pressure, and we don't know what's causing it. Lifestyle modifications and medications are not helping to lower D's blood pressure. What we do know is that D's high blood pressure can be caused by an out-of-control immune system causing inflammation. Inflammation in the organs that control our blood pressure, like the kidney, can cause inflammation and further increases in blood pressure. My research focuses on a part of the immune system called interleukin-18. In experimental models of high blood pressure, where interleukin-18 is missing, we see decreases in blood pressure and kidney inflammation. I've also shown that interleukin-18 is produced by cells in the kidney and then acts on kidney immune cells to kickstart the inflammatory response, which causes increases in blood pressure. So this all could help us create drugs that target interleukin-18 and lower blood pressure of people like D. So I hope I've convinced you so far that interleukin-18 could be a good target for future high blood pressure drugs. But how would we do this? Well, going back to our earlier analogy, we can create drugs that could intercept this message being sent out to the immune cells and prevent them from going rogue. So during my PhD, I tried to see if we could target the target cells themselves, but I didn't see any decreases in blood pressure or kidney inflammation. So I think that getting to the message itself and intercepting it would be a good idea. And we could do this by creating antibodies that intercept the message, or we could use proteins that our own bodies create that try and stop rogue inflammation. So hopefully we could target interleukin-18 to reduce blood pressure and kidney inflammation to prevent people from having heart attacks and strokes. And what about cardiovascular disease? Well, drugs like the ones that I mentioned in the previous slide are already being showing success in cardiovascular disease. So an antibody interceptor was able to prevent future heart attacks in people who had already had a heart attack. I want to give you a quick taste on what I'll be working on in the future. My postdoc work will move from high blood pressure to this unstable plaque. And I'll be looking at cardiovascular disease and see if we can stop this plaque from breaking off and causing heart attacks. So I'm sure you're all aware that we're at an increased risk of getting cardiovascular disease as we age. Previously, we weren't quite sure what the link between aging and cardiovascular disease was, but new research has pointed to mutations in the DNA of our immune cells as a culprit. And I'm sure as we age, our DNA ages with us, and we get more mutations in our cells. The immune cells that are being trained up in our bone marrow can get mutations as well. And cells with these mutations are able to grow better than other cells, and start making more of the immune cells that are floating around in our blood. These immune cells get their mutations in genes that control cell growth and the inflammatory messages that immune cells are sending. This contributes to a state of constant war. And makes people with the mutations almost 2 times more likely to die of cardiovascular disease. What's more, 20% of otherwise healthy over 70-year-olds have these mutations, which likely explains why people are more likely to die of cardiovascular disease as they age. So if we can model these, we can see if we can find new targets to prevent death from cardiovascular disease and help people live long and well. So hopefully I've shown you that in the future we could target our pesky immune system to prevent heart attacks and stroke. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jordyn. I will never look at pizza the same way again. We'll take a few questions from the audience.
As someone who's on 3 different hypertension drugs, thank you for all your research. How does one check their interleukin 18? How did I check my levels? How do we check our levels?
How do we check our levels of interleukin 18?
Well, you could buy some of the fancy equipment that I have to,
You visit Jordyn in her lab.
Give me some of your peanuts. I'm kidding. That's all no.
We'll organise the container with the yellow top on your way out.
Yeah, interleukin 18 is not yet being tested in people. Like, levels of interleukin 18 are not yet being tested in people, but there are a lot of clinical trials that are going on that are using interleukin 18 as a proxy for kidney damage and high blood pressure. So hopefully one day there could be tests for interleukin 18 and other inflammatory markers.
Watch that space. All right, we'll take one from over here. I don't think I can repeat that question. It was really hard.
I think he said in the interleukin 18 deficiency model, were there any deleterious effects of missing interleukin 18? And in the model that we had, the animals that didn't have interleukin 18 were otherwise pretty fine. They were quite fine.
They were okay. We'll take one over here.
Yeah, so, sorry.
No, go for it.
Interleukin 18 is a product of this really big inflammatory, like a platform. It's really huge and beautiful. And that can be activated to produce interleukin 18 by things like high salt, like oxidants, and like protein, like albumin, which is flushed out of our kidney when we pee. But we're not sure what exactly is causing interleukin 18 to be produced. That's a really hot area of research.
Again, watch that space. We'll take one from this side of the room.
So, if you know that you have a family history of heart disease or kidney issues, what are you take test what should we do?
What should we do with family history of heart disease and etc. if we can't test our interleukin 18?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because obviously we've only just started researching interleukin 18, and a lot of research into inflammatory markers in hypertension and kidney disease has been going on for at least the past 10 years, and there are only a few drugs that are even making it to trial. So at the moment, the things that you can do is try to reduce inflammation, which is quit smoking, eating salad, and
Eat your salads, quit smoking, and exercise.
Reduce inflammation.
For now, until we can find out more. All right. We'll take another question right up here.
Yeah,
Can
so
interleukin 18 be a good thing, or do we never want it?
So interleukin's important in fighting off the invaders. So it's often produced in our gut where we have lots of microbes, and it would probably be important there to help with the inflammatory environment in your gut and kill off the bad bugs.
It's a good thing. All right, we'll take two more. We'll take one, then we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, have we been taking all these drugs to address these symptoms for nothing? Is it all about interleukin 18?
No, not quite. So, statins that reduce cholesterol can work in quite a good amount of people, but there are still people who are resistant to statin treatment because their heart attacks and stroke could be caused by something else. So that's where anti-inflammatories could be helpful in the future.
Take your drugs as prescribed. If they're not working, could be interleukin 18. We'll take the last question here.
You mentioned as you get older, your DNA mutates and that helps with your. Have you ever get like a mutation that helps?
Can you get a good mutation as you get older? Please say yes.
I'm honestly not sure about that one because I know about all the... There are some, like, for example, some diseases that are caused by mutations have been able to, like, grow into populations because they are helpful. Like people with the sickle cell mutation that causes sickle cell anemia, that's actually really helpful in, I'm pretty sure, the malaria-prone countries. So that's a way that a mutation can be beneficial.
Mutations can be good. Thank you so much, Jordyn. Thank you.